So today we're talking about problem analysis. And again, I like how the presentation today was introed with, again, a reminder of what we all already know about projects being incredibly tenuous in terms of their ROI at times, having a high failure rate, and a lot of times end up being wasteful or encompassing a lot of wasteful activity. Well, the topic of problem analysis is really at the most front end part of project work. It's really at the point where you're looking at your business case and you're trying to distill or structure what a viable problem is that the project's trying to solve, or it's the reciprocal of a good objective. So today we're going to talk about how you analyze and structure problems. I'm going to define what it is in more detail. We're going to talk about how it fits into the project lifecycle, what's the value of doing this kind of analysis, and then I'm going to actually give some tips and tricks and some process for how one might think about structuring and analyzing a problem. And we'll talk about a little bit more about the whole process and synthesis. So again, defining problem analysis. I have a picture here about the boy who cried wolf, if anyone's familiar with that story, where a lot of times in organizations, people have problems and everyone says, I've got a problem. So let's start at what is a problem. And I have the formal definition at the top, which is a matter or situation regarded as unwelcome or harmful and needing to be dealt with and overcome. I'd like everyone to think about that for a second, because the problem in your personal context is fairly obvious to most of us. We know when something is harmful or bad because it's all related to the human experience. If you get hurt, that would be considered a bad thing. If you lose money, people would say that's a bad thing. Well, in the business environment, it's a bit more complicated because it can be a little more subjective. If somebody in the organization is saying we have a problem, how do you actually validate that that's a problem? How do you actually know that it's a problem that other people would also say is a problem? And particularly as you walk down this road of inquiry, how do you say something is a problem significant enough that a project needs to be organized to solve it? So when we talk about analyzing problems, largely what we're talking about is validating the claims that something is harmful in the organization, requires attention, and would ultimately produce a positive business result if it was addressed. Because most of the time when you hear, okay, this is a problem, you know intuitively solving a problem is going to lead to positive outcomes. In the organizational context, it may not always be that straightforward. So if you don't analyze or at least question what everyone says is a problem, you can very easily end up acting or organizing a project that isn't warranted or isn't really solving anything that's a pressing issue. And this is a major source of organizational waste. So if there's anything you take out of this conversation, it's try to stop activity before it starts if it's not value-adding activity. If there's no real problem to solve for the organization or from the organization's perspective, you should not be organizing effort around it, because ultimately that's just going to result in a large waste of resources, which as project folks, we tend to think, okay, once we're in it, how do we execute the project? But not a lot of us are asking aggressively enough, do we have something here which warrants being solved at all? So to that point, where is this in the project lifecycle? So I have a very, very high level, project lifecycle up here, and just really in the initiation phase of the project. So somebody will present a business case, and the business case normally has either a direct problem articulated or a problem implied. And then where problem analysis goes should be right there. It should be, okay, whatever the business case is, we should be breaking this down and looking at it to make sure that the problem is substantiated. And then from there, you want to be drafting your problems and goal statements off of that analysis. And then that goes into a project charter, which should be signed off for approval. Then you can start planning, etc. So you can see it's very far upstream in the process. And that's where it should be, to make sure that you're not going forward without doing any work that you shouldn't be doing. And what's the value of doing this here? Well, if you look here, I wrote the same sequence of activities without the problem analysis. And you can see up top, you may get the right problem, you may get the wrong problem, or you may not know. So think about if you start a project and you build your charter and you build your plan and your goal statements and you're working on the wrong problem, or you're actually not even sure. Well, this could be anywhere from a few thousand to millions of dollars of loss. If the project is not solving the right problem, then it doesn't matter how well you charter it or you plan it or you schedule it or you control it. The whole thing is a waste of time. Now, if you analyze your problems in a consistent manner, and you can guarantee that the outcome of that analysis is going to give you the right problem, or at least a valid problem to solve, which is in the bottom scenario, then you can have confidence going into the project that you're putting your energy in the right place and that you should be getting ROI at the end of the project. Now, that doesn't mean the project can't be like hitting lots of hurdles in execution, and you still have your classic problems of overrun costs and different things going wrong. But at least you know at the end of the process, at the end of the project, you should be solving the right thing. So then the question is, how much would this be worth in your organization? A lot of people tell me, oh, this is really heavy up front and analyzing the problem and getting sign off and all this stuff. And people are always trying to skip the project charters and they're trying to skip the basics. But the question you have to ask yourself is, how much money and time are you wasting if you're trying to solve the wrong problem or something where a problem's not even there? So I always evangelize this because I think it's extremely critical that we're always holding each other and our organizations accountable to avoid wasteful project work. So analyzing a problem. How do we consistently look at statements of interest, is a neutral way to put it, or a business case, and analyze them if they're a problem or not? Well, there's the start of a model here, and I'm not going to go into tremendous depth about the different components of it. But really, when you have an organizational workflow, you have its design and you have its value chain, and this is on the left-hand side. And without going into great detail there, what you have is like a matching on the right-hand side is you have your observations. That's what you see in the physical environment. That's what usually keys people off that there could be a problem. You have your context, which is sort of, it harkens back to if you have a process that's designed to do a certain thing, well, what's the context of your observation and how is your observation contextualized? Is it not designed? Is it not operating appropriately to how the process was designed? Is it out of a measurable control limit or tolerance level? Like, what is the context? Because an observation without context is rarely, something to be concerned of in itself. And then the last part is, if you think about a process and how it's supposed to create value, that's what a design should do. A problem too needs to be associated with an impact. There should be a rationale to why is our value or why is there something we care about being kind of impacted or jeopardized here. And that's where you get down to, then you do the project work. So let's walk through that in kind of higher level steps. Excuse me. Observations are the manifestation of the problem which you experience in the physical world. This is where most people talk. When they talk about problems, they talk about what their observations of the problem are or what the symptoms of the problem are. And I'm going to walk through this logic with you guys in the sense of a cold, because that's pretty universal for all of us. So when you think about what you observe when you have a cold, you have symptoms like fever, stuffy nose, sneezing, coughing.
Hi there, hope you enjoyed that last clip. My name is Michael Maludis, and if you'd like to watch the full 60 minutes of that last webcast, while also gaining complete unlimited access to our entire library of IT learning, simply visit our subscribe page at greatpro.org/subscribe. Unlimited annual access is $199 per year, but if you use the coupon code LEARN to earn, you can drop that membership fee to just $149. That's less than $13 per month for unlimited access to over 1,000 hours of on-demand career development, covering the entire spectrum of IT management best practices, including business analysis and requirements, software development, quality and testing, risk management, process improvement, project management, and even digital transformation. But your membership doesn't just give you unlimited access to our vast learning library. You also get free access to our mobile app, as well as direct access to our network of over 300 of the world's leading IT consultants, all of whom are dedicated to putting practical knowledge at your fingertips so that you can learn more and earn more. I hope you will join me in becoming a member of the Great IT Professional and advancing your career with us. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button above so that you get notified whenever we publish new free webcasts each week of the year. Thank you for your time and best wishes for your continued success.